And now at 5, IMPD officer shot and killed in the line of duty months ago. Today, the prosecutor makes a big decision as he seeks justice for the murder of Officer Brianne Leath.
He just slowly declined, and then they ended up putting him on a ventilator, and he wasn't responding to that. And she somehow contracted it from the nursing home.
A family mourning the loss of not one, but 2 grandparents to COVID-19. Their story coming up. And new details tonight about the health of the Pacers' new guard and the cancer surgery he just had.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5. Streaming now.
First at 5, clouds right now across central Indiana, but that snow you see in Las Vegas from this morning is headed our way. The same system could bring some snow to Indiana in the next 24 hours. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory joins us now with a look at what's ahead and the timing. Kevin.
And Amanda, I'll add to that, should be light snow, whereas in the last 24 hours we've had snow, sleet, rain. Tomorrow should be primarily snow, and it develops during the afternoon hours, targeting the southern half of the state. Temperatures will be at or a little below freezing, so a better environment for some of this to stick with light accumulations. Looks like an inch or less as you go into the southern portion of the state. Well, the snow in the desert southwest is now pushing its way east of the Rockies and out into the Central Plains. You can see into Kansas, Texas Panhandle, and southern Nebraska. For us, we're getting rid of a weather system. We've had some scattered light rain showers. A few still exist to the east of Indianapolis. Temperatures in the mid-30s in Indy. Shelbyville's at 38. Let's pick up the timeline tomorrow morning into the afternoon. There's the beginning of some light snow, 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. You see it overspread the southern half of the state. Notice there's a fairly sharp cutoff line here as you go north of Indy. The best chance for accumulating snow remains south of Interstate 70. More on that and an eye already looking toward the weekend. I'll tell you why coming up.
The Marion County prosecutor today announced he will seek the harshest penalty possible for the man accused of murdering an IMPD officer. Prosecutor Ryan Mears says he will ask a judge to sentence Elias Dorsey to death if he is convicted of killing Officer Brianne Leath. Dorsey is accused of killing Officer Leath in April of last year. Leath and 3 other officers were responding to a domestic disturbance call on the east side when shots were fired. Leath later died and a woman inside an apartment was injured. The prosecutor says he is seeking the death penalty because Officer Leath was killed while acting in the course of her official duty as a police officer. IMPD released this statement about the decision, quote, "While many will focus on the person accused of this crime, the attention this announcement brings is an opportunity to again reflect on all that Officer Brianne Leath gave to her community in her all too short time with us. It is an opportunity to reflect on the sacrifices her family made and the loss they will forever feel so that people they will never meet could be safer. Officer Leath demonstrated what it means to be a dedicated public servant and set an example that we all strive to live up to every day. She was committed to her community and giving back. She was committed to helping victims of domestic violence. She was committed to running towards danger when others would run away. She was committed to helping her fellow man, woman, and child. Officer Brianne Leath will always represent the spirit of IMPD and will always be remembered." And new information in another death penalty case involving the deadly shooting of a Southport police officer. The man charged with murdering Lieutenant Aaron Allen is set to go on trial in March of 2022. Jason Brown is accused of shooting Lieutenant Allen 11 times on July 27, 2017. And today marks 10 years since the death of IMPD officer David Moore, who was shot 4 times by a suspect after stopping a stolen vehicle. IMPD released this video today telling Moore's story. Moore received the department's Medal of Honor and Purple Heart after his death. He was also an organ donor. The man who pled guilty to shooting him is spending life in prison without parole as part of his plea bargain. And we are still waiting for formal charges to be filed against the 17-year-old suspect in Sunday's mass shooting on the city's northeast side. Police arrested the teen Monday morning. He's accused of killing 5 people in a home on Adams Street, including his parents, 2 siblings, a pregnant woman, and her unborn child. WRTV Investigates has learned the teen opened fire after his father reportedly warned he was going to be in trouble for leaving home without permission. The suspect's teenage brother ran and asked a neighbor for help before being rushed to the hospital with gunshot wounds. And Metro Police are investigating a shooting that happened during an attempted armed robbery of a restaurant on the northwest side. It happened at Qdoba in the 3500 block of West 86th Street around 11:30. Police report getting a call of people acting suspiciously in front of the business and then received another call of shots fired at the same location. A Qdoba employee was grazed in the arm by a bullet, was taken to the hospital, and has since been released. Police have not released information about a suspect. Now let's get a check of the impact of coronavirus on Indiana and the battle the state is waging. As of this morning, nearly 460,000 Hoosiers had received their first dose of the vaccine, and nearly 107,000 people are now fully vaccinated. Today, one of the lowest numbers we've seen in months, the state reported 1,777 new positive cases of the virus. They were recorded between November 25th and yesterday. That is the lowest one-day report since about the middle of October. But there was a big jump in the number of Hoosiers who have died with COVID. 80 deaths reported today, just 12 yesterday. The new figure comes from deaths that occur between November 24th and yesterday. And each person who has died from COVID-19 left behind loved ones who cared about them. Many of those families want to make sure the people they lost are not just a statistic, but remembered for the life they lived. Our Alyssa Donovan tells us today about a family mourning the loss of 2 people to COVID-19.
She was just the most wonderful mother-in-law you could have.
Mindy Settle's mother-in-law, Diana, always put family first.
She loved her 5 granddaughters like there was nothing else on this earth.
The 72-year-old had Alzheimer's and was living in a nursing home when she caught COVID-19.
My husband and my sister-in-law both were able to go in full PPE gear and get to say their goodbyes to her, while the rest of us stood outside her window.
That was in May of last year. And then in November, tragedy struck the family again. Settle's 74-year-old father, David Kinsey, contracted the virus.
He could barely walk. So that Tuesday, I took him to the doctor. They tested him. He came back positive for COVID. And then that Thursday, he went into the hospital and he never came out.
She says her dad left an impact on so many lives.
He loved to serve his community.
He was a volunteer firefighter and a family man through and through.
He would light up a room when he would just smile.
But his deepest love was his wife, Catherine.
When he was in the hospital, he told her he'd marry her another 49 years. Truly his love of his life.
Settles says both her father and mother-in-law were very involved in the lives of their kids and their grandkids.
My mother-in-law used to say that if my husband and I decided to move from Indianapolis, we all had to move together because nobody was allowed to not live in the same state as each other.
She says her kids, nieces, and nephews are missing their grandparents a lot these days. And for her, it's the milestones that have been the hardest.
You know, I just celebrated my first birthday without either one. So, you know, I didn't get that phone call or the text message late in the day.
The loss of 2 members of their family to COVID-19, a tragic reminder to cherish time with loved ones. I'm Alyssa Donovan, WRTV.
If you have lost someone close to you to COVID-19, connect with us. We want to share their stories so that those taken from us are never forgotten. You can reach us at facesofcovid@WRTV.com. New information tonight about the health of the Pacers' newest player, Caris LeVert. The team announced on Twitter today he had surgery to treat a cancerous mass in his kidney, renal cell carcinoma. The Pacers called the surgery successful, and the team's new guard is expected to make a full recovery. LeVert came to the Pacers from the Brooklyn Nets as part of a 4-team trade that also sent Victor Oladipo to Houston. Before the trade was finalized January 16th, a team physician and medical test revealed the mass. Now, the team said he will be out indefinitely and no further treatment is needed. And now to IndyCar, and one of the series' most popular drivers has a full-time ride again. Andretti Autosport announced today that James Hinchcliffe will be back in the number 29 Honda. This will be his 11th year competing in the IndyCar series and his 5th with Andretti. Andretti will also field full-season cars for Colton Herta, Ryan Hunter-Reay, and Alexander Rossi. Marco Andretti has so far only announced the Indianapolis 500 on his IndyCar schedule. The season kicks off April 18th at Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama.
Everyone has a voice, and some people are very adamant about using them, and they're very loud. And even if they're spewing out wrong information, it is so loud and such a surplus of information that you get overwhelmed and don't know where to look and don't know what to believe.
Information overload. It's coming from all kinds of sources. Still ahead, how our kids can learn who and what to trust.
And I mentioned 2 different weather systems to keep our eye on. The first tomorrow, the second arrives this weekend. More on that as well coming up.
On any plumbing repair.
The impacts of the pandemic continue to hit small business owners hard, including those at the Indianapolis City Market. The City Market has seen a major decrease in foot traffic. Several business owners inside saying they are doing less than half the business they were this time last year. They dealt with safety issues over the summer, and now Market Street is closed for construction as well. So we asked the new director what she plans to do to help keep these vendors in business.
All of the merchants had their rents paid through the last quarter of last year, and that was a big help to a lot of them in order to be able to stay open. And we are certainly researching other grant and funding opportunities so that we can do what we can do from our end.
Numerous businesses have closed their City Market locations due to declining sales. We'll have much more on this story tonight at 6, including a new partnership the director says will help her create a long-term plan for success. And this week is National News Literacy Week. Through a partnership between our parent company, EW Scripps, and the News Literacy Project, we are sharing stories that aim to raise awareness about news literacy, understanding your news sources, and knowing what's trustworthy. Today, the focus is on local students. Our Nicole Griffin is finding out where they turn for news and how they know if they are finding accurate information.
Today's students are tomorrow's voters and decision makers, which is why the News Literacy Project aims to educate them on being smart, active consumers of news.
I get a lot of my news from, I'm gonna be honest, like social media, from TikTok, from Twitter.
I have a lot of Instagram pages that I follow. I consume more news faster when it doesn't feel like I'm doing this chore.
With so much information at our fingertips on social media, I asked these students how they determine what information they trust and share.
I always make sure that I check on reliable sources like my news stations and the Washington Post to make sure that everything I'm seeing is true. But I also do like to get a healthy dose of fake news just so I can see what crazy things people are spewing, just so I can know what's not true.
I talk to my parents mostly about it. Like I'll see something and I'll be like, what's this mean? And like, what are they saying here?
The News Literacy Project wants consumers to recognize they can trust local sources like WRTV, where we work every day to gather reliable, accurate information directly from the source.
I think in order to actually believe something you read online, you have to do your own research. So before I actually go on believing something, I take the time and just find stuff on my own.
Take this post, for example, that is circulating on social media. The Indiana National Guard says it's popped up several times during the pandemic, and it is not true. It states Homeland Security is mobilizing the National Guard. All businesses will close and everyone will remain at home. But it's full of grammar mistakes and inaccurate information. The News Literacy Project aims at educating consumers to recognize inaccurate information like this.
When something gets posted, it spreads like wildfire, and there's no real way to stop it. So people just run with it. But I do encourage my friends sometimes to, check their sources.
As part of National News Literacy Week, we are all encouraged to correct misinformation and turn to sources like WRTV, where we are working for you every single day to provide all sides of the story and keep you informed on the facts. Working for you, Nicole Griffin, WRTV.
And right now on the WRTV app, you can find our first story that aired that breaks down in detail the goal of the News Literacy Project and resources you can connect to. Tomorrow on Good Morning Indiana, our Lauren Casey will give a behind-the-scenes look at our process of gathering news here at WRTV. Kevin.
Amanda, much quieter than 24 hours ago. Remember, we had freezing rain that continued into last night and the early overnight. Not much left this afternoon. Lots of clouds. That hasn't changed. Let me take you and find a few showers here as we zip to the east along Interstate 70 and just north of that. Hello to Newcastle, Henry County. There comes some light showers. We'll roll through Mount Summit as well. On east into Wayne County toward Richmond. Those are light rain showers, temperatures in the 30s. There's the veil of cloud cover. If you're starved for sunshine, hang in there. Thursday and Friday will be our days with sunshine before that weekend weather system comes back. 35 in Indy. Notice the wind. The wind west-northwest, it's rather strong. It makes it feel colder than the temperatures listed there. Bloomington's at 36, but there's your northwest wind that will change and come straight out of the north as we go through tomorrow. That will ensure temperatures are close to the freezing mark or a little colder, setting the stage for some of that snow in the southern half of the state to stick. Mostly cloudy tonight. Will dry out. We'll get rid of the showers. Temperatures work their way into the low to mid 20s. That's the way we'll start our Wednesday. There are the afternoon high temperatures. It's possible a few spots, especially from Bloomington and Columbus South, do climb to freezing or a little above. We could have a little rain mix in with the snow, and you see the little green there showing up towards Seymour along I-65. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, there's your light snow, Crawfordsville to Indy to Greensburg. There's a sharp cutoff, and I just accidentally hit the wrong button there, but I'm not going to panic, so don't you panic. I just want to go back here and pick up that timeline that we were just looking at and finish that for you, because it's basically a southern half of the state snow, and there we are, back at 1 o'clock to 4. Notice the darker blues, Bloomington to Seymour to Greensburg, and then slowly drifting to the south and east and out of the picture once we get to tomorrow evening. Inch or less, that's what we're looking at there. Sunshine. Thursday, it stays quite cold though. Temperatures in the lower 30s for the afternoon high, and that's across all of central Indiana. We'll hold on to sunshine to end the work week as well. That's Friday. It's late in the day Saturday, and the confidence level not that high yet how this will play out, but there's a lot of moisture with the weekend storm system. Looks like it may start as some snow, change to rain, and then stick with a mix on Sunday as well. But whenever these systems have a lot of moisture, you need to keep your eye on it, because that means either decent amount of rain or snow, or that combination. See, I hit the wrong button, but we fixed it all. Amanda?
Thank you, Kevin. Still ahead on the news at 5, license plates that raise money for veterans and their families. Questions at the State House about how some of that money should be spent.
Right now.
Veterans and lawmakers spent the morning debating how the state should spend revenue generated from military license plates. It's an update to a story WRTV Investigates first brought you last week. Senate Bill 316 would allow the Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs to use up to 15% of the Military Family Relief Fund to administer the fund. Veterans in need can get help with food, utilities, medical assistance, child care, and other needs through the sales of those plates. IDVA's director says they need that 15% to help raise awareness about the fund, improve technology, and help more veterans. The bill would also allow some veterans who were not honorably discharged to receive benefits. A Senate committee heard from veterans today on both sides of the issue.
Opening up this fund would allow IDVA to support National Guard veterans in a way that we cannot.
At all the meetings I've been to, I've asked who is aware of the Military Family Relief Fund. And I would say probably less than 10% of the people had any idea there was such a fund available. And I know personally some of those people in the room could have used the fund. So I made sure they were all aware of the fund and how to get an application submitted. But I think the awareness is a huge part of what we need to do in the next year.
I would ask that this bill would be amended to remove the up to 15%, and let's work with IDVA on their budget proposal and get them more money. And if we can't get more money in their budget proposal, there's money in the budget for veterans already that can be utilized.
IDVA's director points out that the Veterans Affairs Commission would have to review and approve any administrative expenses associated with administering the Military Family Relief Fund. He says the state has more than $3 million in benefits it needs to get out of the door to veterans. A vote on this bill is expected next week. And more than 400 Indiana National Guard members returned home to Indiana and Camp Atterbury last night after helping to provide security surrounding President Biden's inauguration. About 250 Indiana National Guardsmen volunteered to remain in or will travel to Washington, D.C. until the end of March to continue providing extra security. Republican Indiana Senators Mike Braun and Todd Young have joined other Republican senators in pushing for term limits on members of Congress. They have reintroduced a constitutional amendment that would limit senators to 2 6-year terms and members of the House to 3 2-year terms. Both Braun and Young are serving their first terms in the Senate. Also supporting this amendment are Senators Ted Cruz of Texas and Marco Rubio of Florida. Paying rent has been a struggle for many Hoosiers, so much so that thousands of people are at risk of being evicted. Working for you, how one man is working to keep his rental assistance and what you can do. That's all new at 6 p.m. And coming up on the news at 5:30, the pandemic has created significant challenges for the funeral industry. Why funeral home owners say the changes will last well into the future.